good evening. Great to see everybody out tonight. We got some first-timers, Don here tonight, and some regulars who have been with us over the past 4 years. Welcome to those who are watching at home. I don't know why I'm looking up at the AV booth to address the live stream crowd, but welcome to all those who are at home. The slides from this will go up on the website, so if you want to refer back to it at any point or you're talking to other people about something, you can direct them to the website and see the slides, and maybe the live stream lives up there too on the website. I don't know. This is something that we've done every year since I've been here. It is a conversation between us. We have, if you've been here before, you know we go through the accomplishments of the last year, and then at the end we're looking forward a little bit to what might be coming down the pike. We have a lot of information to get through, but I also want to make sure that we have time for some questions. So if I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down and get that. When we do have questions, we have 3 microphones here in the aisles. So please just make your way forward to use the microphone. That'll allow everybody to hear, both here and on the live stream as well. Next slide. There we go. Okay. Our goal tonight, as always, is I see this really as an exercise in being transparent as your pastor, that there aren't things that are hidden from you, that you know what we're doing. Every fall, I ask you as parishioners to fill out a stewardship card and make a pledge of time and talent and treasure. And this is my part of the bargain to you, is to say, this is how I've tried to be responsible with the gifts of time, talent, and treasure that you've made. And this is where we see ourselves going forward in the next few months. As you can see, we go through some staffing, the statistics of the parish, youth and young adult ministries, financials, and then last year you may remember that I announced we'd be engaging in a strategic planning process, and this year I'm pleased to announce that we got it done kind of under the wire, but it's done, so we'll be announcing the big goals that will be then passed on for the strategic plan. I don't think this clicker's working, Andy. Next slide. New staff members, of course, we have Father Michael Prakash, our associate pastor. He joined us in July, right? And quickly became an integral part of our community. I am greatly blessed to minister with Father Prakash. He's a faithful priest. He's in love with God, and he's in love with all of you. And my gratitude to so many of you who have worked to make Father Prakash feel very welcome here at St. Jude. We also rehired Christy Denzer. Christy had been a part-time employee for several years working in children's ministries and sacramental prep. She took some time off to explore some other opportunities. I begged her to come back full-time in a new role. Her title is Pastoral Associate, but she coordinates a lot of our ministries. So she coordinates weddings and wedding prep, funerals, RCIA. She assists Father Prakash in keeping his calendar straight. She does our ministry scheduling. She's really been a huge blessing in helping us be organized and functioning at our highest level. And then Keith and Aaron Owen are our new youth ministers. Joe Ruff resigned in May, and I knew Keith and Aaron for several years, going back to when they were college students working for the One Bread, One Cup program at St. Meinrad. I had reached out to them saying, hey, do you know anybody looking for a job in youth ministry? And they called me back and said, hey, what do you think about the two of us part-time stepping in? And I said, I love the idea of a young married couple doing youth ministry. They can't be here tonight because they're preparing for the high school retreat that's going on this weekend, but they've brought a great energy and a great love for the church to our youth ministry programs. Next slide. And next slide. Number of households. We currently count 1,476 households. Now, if you've been paying attention, you may say, well, that number continues to go down. And yes, it does. Big reasons for that is I am fanatical about accurate records. And so every 3 years, we go through our database and we say, who haven't we heard from in 3 years or more? So when I arrived in the fall of 2019, we did this. We got off by a year. We did it in the spring of 2023. If we haven't heard from somebody in 3 years or more, we reach out, we make a phone call, we send an email, and we say, hey, no pressure, but we haven't heard from you in a while. Do you still want to be counted as a member of St. Jude or not? We hear back from a very small percentage of folks who say, oh, sorry, we moved, work transferred us, whatever, so take us off your list. Most names we don't hear from. We then just, in the database, move them to inactive status. Now, why do I do that? One, the Archdiocese charges us $35 per family for a Criterion subscription. That adds up. Our mailings for our stewardship renewal process, the newsletter, all of that costs money per piece. So by every family that's not active, that we move to inactive, we save between $40 and $50 a year per family for that. So that to me is good stewardship. Of course, if somebody says, hey, why did I stop getting the mailings? I'm still a member. We'll say, oh, sorry, we hadn't heard from you. We just push a button on the database, they go back to active status, and it's all good. So 1476 is our current number. Our registered parishioners, 1,476 households or families, translates into 4,316 individuals registered here at St. Jude. And in 2023, we signed up 90 new households. So almost 2 households a week that are being signed up to join St. Jude. Next slide. This just shows a historical progression of households. You can see that the dips there in 2023. When we cleaned the database in the spring of 2023, we went back and said, who have we not heard from since 2019 or before? Well, there was a lot happening in this area of the world in 2018 and 2019. We had some difficulties over at Roncalli. We had some major changes here in the pastoral leadership, so I think that accounts between all of that for that dip in the numbers there. Next slide. Mass attendance over 2023. In 9 of 12 months, we were over that corresponding month for 2022. The April month is the big puzzle for me. But Chris and I dug through some historical data. It turns out that at St. Jude, every year after Easter, we have a dip in mass attendance. I don't know why, but this goes back, we went back, Chris, to 2017 or so. I mean, it's not me, it's not Father Steve, it's just people say, well, we made it to Easter, we're taking a couple weeks off, so, okay. September, I think, is calendar related. School Memorial Day, I think we had a little dip this year in September related to that. And then December is down in 2023 over 2022, I think mostly because the fourth Sunday of Advent and Christmas were the same. And so I think when Christmas is midweek, you might be here for the fourth Sunday of Advent and take off on Monday to go visit family. But this year, since it was the same, people just weren't here for the fourth Sunday of Advent. Or we had the adjusted schedule to try to make it easier for people, but people may have decided they wanted a Sunday morning mass and went to a parish that had the Sunday morning mass. We only had the 7:30 that Sunday. That's fine. So that impacted our numbers a little bit. But generally speaking, we were up in our weekly attendance, which was great. We continue to be up. We had a very strong month in January for Mass attendance. So I think we're on the right track with Mass attendance. We still have room, though. There's still seats. We do turn in our attendance. So the question was, do we have to turn them in? They ask for a yearly count, usually in October, that what's our Mass attendance year over year. We count it every week, and the reason that we do that is to help us see for planning purposes, what is our trend for July? Well, should we lower our budget expectations for July because we always have lighter attendance, people are on vacation, so we're going to weight the budget for July a little bit lower. When I go to set up seats for Christmas or Easter, how many did we have last year? What should we expect for this year? So, next slide. Sacraments and pastoral care. 2023 is at the top in red type with a white background there. We did 56 baptisms, 75 confirmations, 1 marriage, and 34 funerals here at St. Jude. Now, 1 marriage. That is an actual marriage ceremony celebrated here at St. Jude. We do about 8 preparations a year, but most of those folks want to go to Sacred Heart or St. John's or the cathedral. I don't think our church is ugly, but a bride might want a different style. Plus, by going downtown, it's closer to the venue for the reception and that kind of thing. So we don't perform many marriages here, but we do more preparation than that number indicates. 34 funerals. We do a lot of funerals here at St. Jude. We're busy with the funerals. We had 6 funerals in January. Does that sound right, Father? 6? So, off to a normal start. I think our confirmations number is going to be about 75 going forward. You can see the 2 really big years in 2020 and 2021 when we lowered the confirmation from sophomore to 8th grade, so we had combined classes that year. That gave it a little elevated number. Next slide. Jonathan Mathis, our communications coordinator, he always likes to put in the stat about the connected email, which he does. St. Jude, we have an open rate, so people click on the email and open the email to read it, of almost 56%. Compared to national faith-based emails, we're up 10-15%, and compared to industry-wide emails, we're up quite a bit. So our Connected remains a very effective means of communicating our message and what is happening here at St. Jude. Next slide, please. Religious education and family faith formation. In 2023, we had 51 children and 28 families served through our religious education and faith formation programs. We also began a brand new program, Catechesis of the Good Shepherd. We had 14 children signed up and an average of 10 to 12. Chris, what's the age range for Catechesis of the Good Shepherd? So that's 3 to 6 year olds. They meet at 8:30 on Sunday mornings. This is a catechetical method based on the Montessori education model. And so you can see in this picture, it's a very tactile method of catechesis. We have models of altars and communion dishes and things that as they learn about the faith, they can actually touch and handle and do things. We're looking to, hoping to expand that to add a level 2 and also potentially to incorporate this into our ELM program as the religious ed component of the preschool that we run here, the early learning ministry. So, yes. Yeah, so we used to do a children's liturgy of the word, and there were 2 things that were difficult with that. One, and the big one for me, is I think that it's important to have children in Mass. And this program allows us to have our children here in Mass. The other part was, quite frankly, the children left, they came back at the end of the homily. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you're relying on my homily as a time chunk, you might be shorted a little bit for the time that you were planning to have. And so this model works very well. The kids are taught before Mass, they can go, or after the 7:30 Mass, they go, and then they can be with their families here in Mass. And it's a little bit less commotion as we celebrate Mass as well. Next slide, please. And next. Thank you. Youth ministry, our 2 big summer day programs. We had 20 7th graders come for a day camp throughout a week, and 50 8th graders come for a week-long day camp. We have our junior high is ranging between 15 to 40 junior high students on Tuesday evenings. They meet at 6:30. The junior high students are invited to come to the 6 o'clock Mass, but that doesn't always work with sports practices and things. But youth group at 6:30 after that. The high school group meets 3 times a month on Sundays after the 10 o'clock Mass. They usually have a lunch incorporated into that, and they meet and they discuss that. As I mentioned, they're hosting a high school retreat this weekend. We have 28 participants signed up and about 25 teens that are assisting in leadership to put that. So we'll have a little over 50 high school students on campus this weekend engaged in that retreat for the weekend. So that's a very exciting thing for us. Next slide, please. Our Rome pilgrimage, this was our first summer to take the graduating MCs and sacristans. The MCs are the high school age young men who assist at Mass. They wear the slightly fancier surplice with a little bit of lace. When they finish their training, they get a t-shirt that says "You got to earn the lace" for that. They enjoy that. Sacristans are mostly young women, but there are a couple of young men that assist in that program as well. They start out assisting adult Mass coordinators, and they learn how to set up for Mass. Then they assist with bringing communion to those in the back who cannot necessarily make it forward for communion. By the time the sacristans hit their junior or senior year, they're expected to be moving into regular Mass coordinators. And so that's a big leadership step where they're the ones responsible for, oh no, we didn't, like the lector didn't show up. Who are we going to find a lector? Sometimes they step in and read themselves. I think that this program of the MCs and the sacristans, it keeps them engaged in their faith throughout high school. It gives them meaningful work that is reserved to them and for them. But it also, beyond the spiritual benefit, I think it helps form them in leadership and responsibility. And we're concerned with the whole person. So as a reward, as a thank you from the parish, I take them to Rome when they graduate high school and turn 18. And we spend a week with your poor fat pastor sweating his way through the streets of Rome. But we had a great time this year. We took 5 pilgrims, 3 young men and 2 young women this year. That was the first year, so it was a smaller class. We anticipate that we'll have 8 going in June. If you are interested in financially supporting this, we will be taking up a second collection at all the Easter Masses that will go to support that trip. Next slide, please. Adult ministry, we have 14 people, 14 adults in RCIA, which is a big class for us. That includes 2 University of Indianapolis students. We'll get to that a little bit more in detail. We had 18 people participate in the men's and women's retreats. It was like 13 women and 5 men, but we're working on that. And then we had 2 Together in Holiness circles, the small groups after the Marriage Enrichment Conference last spring that kept meeting throughout the year. That's 8 people apiece, Chris? 9? So 4 couples in each circle, so that's great. Next slide, please. The Eucharistic Revival. I got to go over here so I can read this off. How have we participated this year as a parish in the national Eucharistic Revival movement? We had a display at our Festival of Eucharistic Miracles that was really interesting. We had a rosary team this summer that went into various neighborhoods where parishioners lived and did rosary walks. As it got hotter and then colder, the rosary has moved to Tuesday and Thursday evenings following our evening Mass. So that's been a real boost in prayer and providing both communal prayer and some contemplative prayer. Tammy Stewart and I, in the fall, offered a reflection. We had about 60 parishioners attend as a little reflection on the Eucharist. We've had monthly pub talks on the second Monday of the month at Gallagher's. Jonathan Mathis, our communications coordinator, he's a former seminarian, and so he stepped up and volunteered to lead these talks on the Eucharist, various aspects of the Eucharist. Jimmy Mad Dog Matus has been generous in kind of emceeing those events and generating some questions and comments. I'm very grateful to Nick Himes and his staff at Gallagher's for allowing us to use that space on Monday evenings. I've accidentally dropped in a couple of times. It's my day off, but I've forgotten and gone for a beer and then noticed, oh, this is a good crowd, and it looks like they're having a good time. So We've had monthly holy hours on the third Monday of the month. You know, every Monday we have Eucharistic adoration here in the church from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. On the third Monday of every month this year, we've had dedicated holy hours. We have some praise and worship music, and we have a theme that we ask people to pray on and focus their prayers: vocations, families, peace, all kinds of different things. Just trying to gather together in prayer around the Eucharist. And then we have partnered with Ron Colley to send, do you remember how many kids we're sending? I think it's 9. So Marian University put together a program for the National Eucharistic Congress where they are hosting high school students there on campus at Marian, room, board, and Marian students are acting as small group discussion leaders. And then every day they will be bussed in by Marian from Marian's campus to downtown to participate in the events of the Eucharistic Revival. They go back in the evening for supper at Marian. Those small group discussions happen. Marian's put this together. They're losing a ton of money on it. They're only charging $600 a kid. Ron Colley has put up $200 for kids who applied, and I said we would match Ron Colley. So the cost to our families is only $200 for a 4-night experience that could be, I think, really transformational for these youth. And so Ron Colley called. They said, hey, we're putting up $200. Can you do anything? And I said, we'll find the money to match. Of course, Ron Colley said, it'll be 5 kids. Then it's 9. But it's money well spent. It's money well spent, I think, to invest in the faith of our youth. Next slide, please. Ministry to UIndy. This is a new ministry for us here at St. Jude. We began it in the spring, but it really got off the ground when, of course, the school year started in late August. We have Mass on campus at 5:15 on Wednesday evenings. I just came from that Mass right before here with confessions available and a social. They have little snacks and they talk. Mass at St. Jude at 11:45 a.m. on Sundays. And then we provide a full lunch for the students after the Sunday Mass for them. And again, some fellowship time. Tammy Stewart is our point person for that. Father Prakash and I have been engaged in various ways. It's small but mighty. I mean, these kids, there's only 25 or 30 of these young adults. I've hit 50 when I start referring to them as kids. But these young adults, they really are sincere and enthusiastic about their faith. So we have great hopes that attendance will grow. We currently have 25 to 30 on a Sunday, and about 10 or 12 on Wednesday nights, but we're encouraging them and equipping them to be evangelists, to reach out to their friends and classmates. And as I mentioned, we have 2 UIndy students currently in RCIA that will be received into full communion this spring. Adoration is done on campus Tuesday evenings at 9:15. Both Tammy and I have offered spiritual direction, and I have one young man from UIndy in spiritual direction. I think Tammy has 2 young women in spiritual direction on a regular basis. And we support, we train, and we provide resources for the UIndy Catholic Student Organization so that they can be effective disciples of Jesus Christ there on campus. It's been a huge blessing to us. It has required some resources. We've bought some liturgical books for use there on campus, so we're not carting things back and forth. But I think those expenses have been fairly minimal for the blessing of that. Yes, Ann? So a couple of years ago, the question is, where do we celebrate Mass on campus? A couple of years ago, UIndy purchased the University Heights United Methodist Church building. That congregation is very small and fairly old, and so they're continuing to worship there on Sundays, which is one of the reasons why we have Mass here on Sundays for the UIndy students. But as they die out as a congregation, UIndy will continue to use that as their chapel and spirituality center, so we say Mass there. It's the first time in 15 years of priesthood that I've said Mass in a Methodist church. It's a lovely, lovely old 1940s, 1930s little church. Next slide, please. Two of our outreach efforts that I wanted to highlight tonight is we contributed $27,000 plus to St. Vincent de Paul. That's the monthly second collection that's taken up. So that's a good and generous response from us. I'm very proud of that. And then you may have noticed in the Connected and in the bulletin that we've begun to offer counseling here on campus. We partnered with Central Psychological Associates, which is a parishioner-owned psychological center here on the south side. They send one of their therapists over Tuesday afternoon and evening. We have space, private space available in the basement of the parish center. There's a separate entrance by the garage doors. You can go straight down. You don't have to see me or anybody. You can be very private and discreet there. And St. Jude underwrites that. So if you're able to pay the fee, we ask that you do so. But if you're not able to, you can only pay half, you can only pay $20, whatever. We cover the rest of that. And so I'm excited. Adam, some of you may have met Adam and his wife Molly. Molly is very much expecting their second child someday this week, probably. And Adam is a former seminarian. He's a graduate of Brute College Seminary, and then he went on to get a graduate degree in counseling. We've had 9 people come through so far, so he's got room for more. If you or you know somebody that could benefit from just solid counseling rooted in our Catholic faith, we have that available for you. Next slide, please. Parish Festival, banner year for the festival. $85,000 in profit. I think a lot of factors contributed to that. We have a strong festival committee that works just tirelessly to put this on. It was a huge year for profits. We went from cash to a ticket system, which I think helped streamline things, but also helped boost our profits a little bit. We had great weather this year and great attendance. To all of you, I see some faces that I saw manning grills or booths or different things. Thank you so much. Our festival profits go to fund maintenance work here at the parish. And so this year, we combined that with some other money, and we spent $120,000 on what had been deferred maintenance projects. We got some caulking done around windows, so we stopped some leaks. We replaced the auxiliary HVAC systems in this building, so there's a unit for the sacristy, which is really important for me. There's a unit that takes care of the narthex and a unit that takes care of the St. Joseph's room and that hallway. All 3 of them were at the end, past their life expectancy. We replaced them. We also replaced the heating units in the 2 main entrances here. The original ones had no thermostat. They were either off or on. So that means that in the winter they just mostly were on. So now we have new updated thermostat units. So They cycle off and they save us some money. We also installed, for the first time ever, thermostatic controls in the school so that at the end of the school day we can drop the heat or raise the air temperature, and we're going to see a lot of savings in our energy costs around here. But you have to invest that money to get those savings. So thank you to all of you who in any way support the festival. Next slide, please. Next, thank you. Last year, our Sunday collections brought in $866,939, a 4.4% increase over the previous year. So thank you for responding generously in your stewardship, in your financial stewardship. You're making a big difference here. Costs for everything are up, and so I'm very grateful that we didn't have to make serious cuts in our ministry or in our staffing, but rather that you stepped forward generously and enabled us to keep going. Next slide, please. Of our 1,476 registered households, 1,172 households contributed financially to Sunday collections. That's an increase in number of families of 4.5% over the previous year. So again, more families are engaging, are contributing to the health and the upkeep of the parish. That's a positive trend that we want to see everybody engaged as fully as they can be in the parish. Next slide, please. How do we spend the money? Obviously, your best deal is clergy costs. 7.2% of the budget goes to support Father Prakash and I. You may not know this, but every priest in the Archdiocese within a 5-year cohort makes the same amount of money. So whether you're the pastor of St. Jude or the pastor in Osgood, the diocese sets that. Every 5 years we get a little bit of a bump for that. This year we got a bigger bump because the Archdiocese adjusted the pay scale for priests for the first time in 40 years. Right? Sometime in the late 80s, they said, hey, what should we pay priests? And they said, well, what's the median income for a single person in the state of Indiana? In 1988. And in the year of our Lord, 2023, we adjusted that to what is the median income of a single person in the state of Indiana in 2023. We are still the cheapest employees on campus, but we are, Father Prakash and I are very grateful for what you provide. That number also reflects food and housing costs that you contribute directly to. You can see on here we have staff salaries and benefits. We have the Archdiocesan assessment, which I will say, I can be a little bit hard on the Archdiocese sometimes. They have cut some of their assessments back. And so this used to be closer to 24%, and now it's about 20% of our income. They base most of their assessments, it's a percentage of Sunday and Holy Day collections. And so it should remain a pretty standard percentage for us, but the dollar number goes up as our collections go up. And we're always a year behind then on that cycle. Our school support remains very solid at 23%. I've tinkered with it very minorly over the years that I've been here. It's largely what it was when I came in. Our school remains our biggest ministry. We have 480 students enrolled, K through 8, plus the ELM has 50 students, Tony, roughly, in the pre-K. So we're pre-K through 8, we're over 500 students. It's a important ministry in this day and age. Facility and admin costs, that's a little bit bigger this year for two reasons. One, I think we've historically underfunded our maintenance, and we're making efforts to expand that. We added a lot of building space in the capital campaign in 2018, 2019. And so, maintenance costs go up for that. But plus, as I said, this year we spent a large chunk, over $100,000, on some extraordinary costs that were necessary but had been deferred for a couple years. And then ministries and our associated costs. Our ministry costs, that's our direct cost. So it's how much candles cost, it's how much workbooks for confirmation kids cost, it's flyers and handouts and those things. You ought to look at our ministry cost as staff costs and those ministry costs combined. That's what we're spending on ministries, if that makes sense. Next slide, please. Here is how we're doing to budget. We're a little bit over in clergy costs. I don't know why. I'll start eating ramen and get that budget back in line. What? I'm under? Oh, no, never mind. I'm not eating ramen. We're doing great in clergy costs. I was reading the columns backwards. Thank you, Chris. I want to point out to you that as you can see here, that most of the time we're good in coming in on budget. We're over budget in a couple of areas. One is, again, the maintenance and facilities costs. The other cost that we're over is ministry costs, and that's because we budget, and then when we go to buy something, the company has raised the cost, right? And you don't adjust your budget mid-year for that. You just kind of do the best you can with that. So several of our costs have increased quite a bit. So we're very conscious of trying to come in on budget, and in most areas we do just that. As you can see, we're running a slight deficit, but $7,000 on a $5 million budget is pretty on target. And so, maybe people will slide a little more into the collection plate this spring, and we can easily make up $7,000. Next slide, please. Just a quick snapshot of our stewardship renewal. We had 36% of our families turned in stewardship renewal cards. So the raw number there is 528 of our 1,476 families turned in a card. That's both up almost 10% from last year. But at one point in the process, I had breakfast with Jolinda Moore, who's the head of stewardship and development for the Archdiocese, and I said, what's a good return rate? What's a good participation rate? She said 25% is considered a good rate. She said, after that, you're eking out 1%, 2% increases, and every 2% you should be like shouting from the rooftop. So when we finished our season at 36%, I didn't shout. You know, I'm not that kind of person, but I was intensely proud of us as a parish. There's obviously still room to grow. We want 100% participation, but I think we're doing really well. Those cards that were turned in reflected 4,242 prayer commitments from people in this parish. That people in this parish made 4,242 commitments for prayer. If you remember, that piece of paper says everything from Sunday Mass attendance to praying for persecuted Christians to all of that. So that's great. 1,879 volunteer commitments. People signed up for all kinds of work here at the parish. And 447 of the 528 cards reflected a offertory commitment. So thank you. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, strategic plan. We had 3 goals. So I'm going to go through, each goal has a slide. The big goal is in red at the bottom. The strategies for that are above it. So our first goal is hospitality. St. Jude Parish will deepen its hospitality to purposefully welcome others into the community and into a deeper conversion into the Catholic faith. In other words, we're not just being friendly, we're inviting you to a deeper relationship with God. How do we want to do that? We want to enhance the new parishioner welcome and stimulate sustaining engagement of newcomers within our church community. In other words, we're not just glad you're here. How can we help you get connected? How can we strengthen your bonds with our parish? How can we not let you just float, but actually get you engaged and connected? We want to conduct an evaluation of our current hospitality initiatives. So in the next 6 months or so, you should expect to see a survey asking you for your feedback and your impression of how we are as a hospitable community. We want to identify and promote ongoing ministries as well as key parish events. I hear regularly, well, we didn't hear about that, we didn't know that was happening, so how can we be better at communicating our mission? And support the role of greeters at all Masses. My goal is that everybody who comes in for a Sunday or Holy Day Mass is personally welcomed, personally told that we're glad that you're here, and they know that they are welcome here at St. Jude. Next slide, please. Second goal, deepen the well. St. Jude Parish will empower each parishioner to deepen the well of their Catholic faith through knowledge and devotion with love and gratitude to Christ our Savior. How are we going to promote the empowerment of each parishioner? We're going to work to integrate intellectual and spiritual formation into all key events throughout the parish and liturgical calendar year. In other words, what do we already have going on, and how can we add a spiritual or a knowledge component about the faith to that event? We have thousands of people coming for the festival. How do we add a little bit of a, here's what you need to know about being Catholic to that? Create a, what is that word? Roadmap for leadership formation to build and strengthen a culture of witnesses. This reflects a passion of mine to say, how do I, as pastor, empower you to be leaders in the faith? How do I empower you to be leaders in the faith? Not only your own faith, but to be evangelists, to be teachers, to be whatever God has called and gifted you to be in the church. How do we do that? We're going to work on that. We're going to work on everybody who feels called, which ought to be everybody, will be strengthened and empowered in the way that they need to be. Build upon existing youth ministry activities and initiate additional efforts to increase participation. Statistically, we lose, if people are going to leave the church, we lose them before they turn 18. So how do we invest in our youth to say faith is reasonable, faith is important, faith is natural, it may not always be cool, but it is something that young people can engage in. The MC and the sacristan programs are part of that. What else do we need to do there? Equip parents for building up the domestic church through resources, events, and community. Parents are the first and best teachers of the faith to their children. Studies show that the number one impact in whether somebody, a child raised in any church, in any faith, if they're going to participate in the faith as an adult, the number one factor is, does the dad practice the faith? And does he practice it as part of his daily life? Not just, oh, I drive the family to church on Sundays. Is he leading prayer at meals? Is he talking to his kids about the faith? Is he doing that? That is not to underestimate the important role of mothers. That's not putting down moms at all. It's just statistically, that's the factor that stands out. So how do we equip parents to talk about the faith with their kids? How do we energize parents to practice the faith with their kids? Sorry, I'm on a soapbox, I'm giving lectures. Prepare coaches to lead with virtue and witness. Sports are a great thing. Catholic sports ought to help you deepen your faith with God while strengthening your mind and body. And so what do we need to do to empower our coaches to see themselves as ministers and coaches? Next slide, please. Our final goal, the Eucharist. St. Jude Parish will foster our prayerful devotion to the Eucharist and let the Blessed Sacrament infuse our lives and inspire us to share our Catholic faith out into our community. How? Strengthen the parish's intellectual understanding of the Church's teaching on the real presence and source and summit of the Christian fit life in the Eucharist. You've heard me say it from the pulpit. I don't want any parishioner at a parish where I'm the pastor to answer a survey question, I don't know what the church teaches about the Eucharist. I want everyone to at least be able to say, I don't agree with it, but the church teaches that this is the real presence, body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. What else are we going to do? We are going to increase communal devotion to better understand and accept the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist sacramentally. Then we want to enhance, increase, and build up participation and greater understanding of the faithful in the Mass. So a devotional aspect, but also a liturgical aspect headed out by this group. All right, next slide, please. Current and upcoming projects. Chair upholstery. Folks, this popped into my head. We host every fall the Mass and lunch for retired priests with Archbishop Thompson. Archbishop Thompson celebrates Mass. We usually have about 20 retired priests come. And one called me over right before Mass started. He said, Father, I think one of the school kids at school Mass today got sick on this chair. And I rushed over. I was embarrassed. I came over. Well, it was just that the stuffing was coming out of this chair right here. I said, all right, we got to do something about these chairs. So I called Marie Fry and the Art and Environment Committee, and I said, what can we do about the chairs? The chairs date to 1998. Literally thousands of people have sat on these chairs. It was time. Marie looked into it. it was going to cost us about $50,000 to reupholster the chairs. So before I could say no, Marie gathered a team of the best people and committed. We bought fabric, we bought stuffing, and God love them, they're hauling the chairs from here over to the Parish Center garage. They have some kind of twisted assembly line going. They have been knocking it out. They look great, they feel great. Soon every chair in the church will be freshly upholstered for the next 25 years. So that's a big project we've been working on for $7,000. So we saved over $40,000 by the generosity of our parishioners saying, I'll give up my free time and come and staple and hot glue and cut and everything else. So grateful. This spring, I've asked Chris Cheney, our Director of Ministry Operations, to assemble a facilities master planning committee for two reasons. One, to look at, are we using our facilities to the best of our ability? Are we maximizing what we've got? Are we using it efficiently and using it well? Secondly, the Archdiocese probably will go through an Archdiocesan capital campaign process. So every parish will participate in that. So we'll have to have a capital campaign. As I said to the staff, I think it's always easier to adjust a plan than to start from scratch. So if we're looking forward, if we're looking at a potential capital campaign, what other facilities, buildings, land do we want to move forward and increase our mission or accomplish our mission more efficiently? So that's the big thing on our horizon that hasn't been addressed so far. All right, sorry, that is a lot of information. So, questions, comments, snide remarks? So the Eucharistic Revival is happening in July. Tickets are available for purchase. They have day passes, they have multi-day passes, they have full weekend passes. I strongly encourage you to purchase at least a day pass and go and participate in that. Some of you have probably been chaperones or engaged in like the National Catholic Youth Conference. This is going to be 2 or 3 times the size of the National Eucharistic Congress. We're hoping for somewhere between 60 and 100,000 people to participate in the Eucharistic Revival. So the day passes are pretty affordable. I think the weekend passes are pretty pricey, but the day passes are affordable. Yes? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Because I'm intimidating. Intimidating. They're scared of me. Patrick Verheily is our parish council coordinator. He is very approachable. He's got a huge beard and 6 kids. So if you come to Sunday morning Mass, they're the family right down here. Patrick Verheily. We have Ann Johnson here, who's also on our parish council. Greg Schaub in the back is on parish council. That might be it for parish council. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. We got a couple of finance council members here, Eve and Phil, and Tony left, I guess. So talk to them as well. Any other? Yes. So the question is, do vouchers help with the total parish budget? Yes, but not as much as they have impacted some other parishes. And for example, at St. Mark's, 99% of their students qualify for vouchers. At St. Jude, 80% of our students qualify for vouchers. And so they are a huge help. They solidify, they make budgeting fairly easy, solidify that. The school sometimes generates a small profit. And we don't know that till the end of the year. And then Beth and I, Mrs. Meese, the principal, and I have worked out an agreement that if there's nothing pressing for the school to use that money on, so the profit generated in June of 2023 will be installing a playground in spring of 2024 with that profit money. So at no cost to the parish, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not having to cough up more cash for that. If there's not a pressing project, then Beth and I will split the profit 50-50. So 50% will come back to the parish as part of our, we give that, you saw 20% of our budget is support for the school, a subsidy for the school. We'll receive probably something along the lines of $50,000 back at the end of the school year for that. That's made possible by the vouchers. They really help us, but what's at the same time as vouchers have been fantastic and very, very helpful, teacher salaries have gone up. And we've had to raise them significantly to remain competitive. By the way, if you're not doing anything this Friday night, you should come to the Raising Raiders event. That raises money for teacher pay and incentives. We like to give a return bonus. We like to give if they're doing something additional, coaching the chess club or whatever, we give them a little stipend on top of that as a way to make up for the fact that their base salary is at least 20% lower than what they could make in the township schools. And so that's where we're still in that place. Now, you can pray. The legislature is considering making universal vouchers in 2 years. And so that would be revolutionary to close that gap, because then I can definitely set tuition to the voucher rate without squeezing out any families that are right on that cusp right now of making just a little bit too much to qualify for vouchers. Does that make sense? Yes.
Transparency, but there is no money outside of what you, like for example, the collection for Rome goes through
right
with these numbers and the expenses.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just make sure.
Yeah. So we do have, Don, I will say, one of the things that I started a couple of years ago is a long-term maintenance savings account. And that is funded, it's held at the Archdiocese, and it's funded by our festival money, the school endowment payment, which is about $12,000, $14,000 a year, and then about $20,000 out of our operating budget. And that all goes to the Archdiocesan. It's our account, it's our money, but it's held there at the Archdiocese. And that is to enable us to save up for roofs, boilers, that kind of thing, so that I don't have to come to you and say, oh, sorry, the roof is leaking. Can you raise me $100,000 in the next month? Right? So that I think that's good stewardship, that we save well, and it limits us in what we can do this year because we're saving for the future. But I think that's in my mind good leadership and good stewardship. So there are some accounts floating out there for that, but pretty much all the money is on that slide. We do. So, do we have a sister relationship with St. Philip Neri? Yes, we do. Our midweek Holy Day collection, so All Saints Day, the Assumption of Mary, the Immaculate Conception of Mary, a couple of others maybe throughout the year. Midweek Holy Day offerings go to St. Philip Neri, and 10% off the top of our profits from the festival go to St. Philip Neri. In return, they man some booths for us in the festival, and they're wonderful people. They're always hardworking. They're always here on time and really do that. That's thank you. That should be included in that. So this year, that was about $9,000 that went to that. $85,000 that you saw is after we tithed to St. Philip Neri. Anything else? Yeah. This is our biggest crowd yet. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is a blessing to be the pastor at St. Jude for multiple reasons. One, there is a spirit of faith in this parish that is alive and that is devoted, and I can't tell you when I walk through on a Monday and I see people here in adoration, when I see people staying after Tuesday or Thursday Mass for the Rosary. This is a parish that prays, and to me, that's the most important and the bedrock of who we are as a community. But it's also a community that has been very generous in many, many ways. As you saw our slides on your stewardship commitments, this is a parish that gets it on giving time, on praying, and on giving money. Not every pastor can stand up today and say giving was up 4.4% last year. That's a ridiculous number. It's crazy, but crazy good, right? So thank you for that. And then I also appreciate that, like, I'm not Father Steve. That may shock you to hear that. But you know, we're different men, and you have hung with me and followed and not hassled me too much, and hassled me mostly appropriately when you needed to, and we're finding our way together, aren't we? And I think that it's a blessing to be the pastor of St. Jude. So thank you. Yes. Yes. That was the most spectacular fundraising failure of my life. So the question was asked about the AV financing. We're grateful to Andy to be here tonight, as he is for most of our events running the AV. You may remember a year ago I told you the absolute truth. The equipment that we had, there we go. The equipment that we had in this booth was irreparable, non-updatable, just all of it had to be recycled and thrown out. So I made the decision in consultation with the Finance Council and the Parish Council to move back up top. And that costs us some extra money, but it opened up a cry room again, which I think is a good thing for us. I am fine with your babies in the church, but parents get really stressed. And so if you need a little place, you got a little place. We had 73,000 left from Ruth Steinmetz's bequest that went towards those costs. We raised about 25,000 that went towards those costs, and then the rest came out of operating expenses. But I think the system is so much better. I think you can hear more clearly. The way we manage the slides is more clear. We've gained a lot of capability in terms of live streaming and video stuff that we couldn't do before. So I think it was, and we had to do something because the system was beginning to crash, and you don't know it till 5 minutes before mass starts, right? So we had to do something there. What about it? Oh, yes. So it turns out that when Father begs at the end of Mass, people step forward. So we've trained, I think, 6 new volunteers in the last couple of weeks. So again, and I don't mind it. Sometimes it's easy to gloss over announcements in the Connected or the bulletin. So sometimes you need to hear Father say it, right? And so that's what we needed to do, and people stepped up and made it happen. So again, St. Jude comes through, sometimes in a pinch, but but they always come through. Anything else? I've kept you past my hour, but there was just a lot to get through. Look over one more thing. I didn't put it in the slide because I didn't know how to word it succinctly. The Finance Council, the Parish Council, and I are, as part of this Facilities Master Plan program, are looking at the issue of priest housing. In 2018, we bought the White House and the land, almost 5 acres of land. We also bought a 10-stall horse barn that was on that property. That horse barn is transformational. Like, we store an unbelievable amount of crap in there. We make the school play sets in there. It's really, that was the right decision at the time. But the house is a 1930s farmhouse that was beautifully restored, isn't quite the right word, transformed. Beautifully transformed. It is a 2-bedroom house with bathrooms in each bedroom, and then a 3rd half bath on the main floor for guests and public. Priests don't live like normal people. That is, I would imagine, now who knows, I don't know anything about being married, right? But in my imagination, you might go home and sit on the couch with your spouse and agree on a television show and spend a couple hours in the evening, and you've been apart if you're not retired. Maybe if you're retired, you live like priests. I don't know. But Father Prakash and I are never going to come home and sit on the couch together and watch the same television show. So for the past year, we've been renting a house on Redwood off of Dudley, that the backyard connects with the woods behind my house. So Father Prakash takes 10 steps, then he's on one of the paths in the woods, and then he's over at the office. It's pretty convenient. Is it a long-term solution? I don't know. So we're having the discussions of, should we build a purpose-built rectory where the old yellow house used to be and the little yellow garage still is? Should we build a purpose-built rectory that has suites big enough for a priest to have some alone time, if that's what we need, and some common spaces big enough to be functional for the parish, but also like that we can cook supper together when we want to, and eat together, and pray the Liturgy of the Hours together, and then I'll go watch my old man mysteries, right? That's the dream. We also, if we're going to build a purpose-built space, would we put in a room for the summer seminarian? Or hopefully, God willing, God is going to bless us by raising up a young man from St. Jude to be a seminarian. And after a certain age, no offense, but you may not want to live with your parents over break. You might want to live in your own space and that. So we're talking about that. No decisions at this point have been made, but we welcome your feedback. It is on our radar to say what's best for the parish. It is not a complaint because I'm living in luxury, okay? I have a beautiful house, a great yard. Lucy and her team help me keep the yard up. It's fantastic. But is it what's best long term for the parish? And so those are our considerations right now. Okay? Good. Thank you. Let me offer you my blessing as you depart tonight. The Lord be with you. May the blessing of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit descend upon you now and remain with you forever. Thank you very much.